Do people really care about their loved ones? I want to talk about an interesting subject today in regards to life insurance. Um, there's a lot of things that we come across in our industry, and oftentimes I think about why is it that people don't get some type of coverage whenever they express that they really want it. And many times we get calls from these people that are looking for some type of life insurance, final expense coverage, or some type of mortgage protection, but they just don't move forward for whatever reason. So I want to talk a little bit today about some of those reasons why I think people don't move forward and maybe some different perspective on how to think about it. Now I'm going to give 5 reasons, and the 5th reason I'm going to reserve for the end because I think it's the best one of all. All right, so the reason number 1 why I think people don't get some type of life insurance is that they don't trust the agent that's quoting them. I really do think that's a big reason why people don't get life insurance, because they just don't trust them. In general, as people, we don't want to be sold something. We're afraid that somebody's going to somehow gain some type of mental superiority over us, or because they sold us or they tricked us into something that we may have not needed, or it costs too much. So I do think it's a natural mechanism that people have. And this is one reason why I think it's so essential for insurance companies, agencies to really be strict in auditing their process and how it looks like for the customer's perspective, because there's a lot of people that are being taken advantage of because they got some new agent that's just after a quick sell, or they may have just gotten someone that just doesn't care much about their clients. They're not dedicated to this industry. And keep in mind, most agents in the insurance industry don't make it more in a year or two. So keep that in mind. It's better to work with someone that's more established, that's trusted. You can actually check out reviews maybe of the company you're working with, or even look to the agent, ask for references that maybe they can refer you to. So reason number 1, they don't trust the agent that's quoting them insurance. I think that's one reason why people don't buy life insurance or some type of coverage they've expressed that they needed. The second reason I think that people don't get coverage is they're really not sure on how much coverage they actually need, and then all the details around it. Should I do term life insurance, whole life, universal, index universal? There's so many different options. They're not really sure on what coverage makes most sense for them. So, and then the other reason that people, it kind of goes along with this, another reason why people don't get coverage is they think that they need more coverage than they actually do. So that's a big thing that happens a lot. So many people just simply don't understand the cost of what it would be to their family if they pass away. So let's face it, who wants to talk about dying and how it's going to impact their family? It's a serious subject to think about. It's not something that people generally want to speak about. So working with someone that has a lot of experience in the industry, like us or some other reputable company, can really help narrow down the needs for you and your family, because they've been doing this a long time. We've helped many thousands of people, for example. Unfortunately, we've had people pass away that have had our services, but we were there to help their family. So for example, I'll just give one example here, and then a secondary, kind of give you an idea. So understanding your family's needs. Let's say that you make $50,000 a year, you're the primary income holder, and you have a 10-year-old. In about 10 years, that 10-year-old should be on their own. But if something happened to you sometime recently, over the next 10 years, you would have made $500,000 in income. But now your family's left with nothing if you have no coverage or any type of investments. So in this scenario, a $500,000 policy may make sense for your need, depending on your situation, because your family could potentially lose $500,000 over that 10-year period. So in this scenario, we probably would look more towards a term life insurance policy, maybe 10 or 15 year, or if we put together a longer game plan until you reach a point where your assets are all filled up, in case something happens to you early. Now, having this coverage could be vital. It could help take care of where your family's going to live, food to eat, money for clothes, education, and other costs. A lot of us don't think about those things. It might only cost $8,000 to $10,000 for a funeral, but what about the car payments, the utilities, the home, education costs, and all those things? All that would be gone if you were to die and your family loses your income. And it's even worse if your spouse cannot replace that income. So another example that I would look at, in really determining needs. Let's say you were a 70-year-old woman and you never managed to save money up for your final expenses, and you know that you would be a burden on your family if something happened to you. In this scenario, let's say that you only want to be cremated whenever you pass away. You probably don't need very much coverage. We're talking $3,000 to $5,000 at most to cover that expense. So working with an expert can really help narrow down what you actually need. Whether there's all kinds of issues that you can use insurance to negate. It could be tax issues. Say you have a lot of wealth and you're going to transfer it and you don't want your family to get hit with huge tax issues. That can be done with life insurance. Loss of income is a big reason why people get it, protection for their mortgage, and many other reasons. So the second point I wanted to kind of cover here was many people think they want more coverage than they can actually afford, and therefore they get nothing, leaving their family at a complete loss if something would happen to them, so they're in the same position. So there are many ways to find the lowest prices, such as working with a broker. That can definitely help. But it's good to have some coverage rather than none. I guarantee your family will be happy that you had something rather than nothing. When a family member says, "We found your information on my mother's desk, and it had prices here for life insurance. We were just wondering if she got any coverage from you." And then I have to tell them, "Well, no, I tried to do everything I could to help, but they just didn't want to move forward." I've had those calls. It's not pleasant. I don't want that to be you and your family. It doesn't even matter to me if you go through us or some other company. You should do something to negate the risk to your family. And that can be through investments, which we can help with. It can be through life insurance. It can be a number of ways to kind of do that. But it's good to do something rather than nothing. We always get these calls where people want $100,000 in coverage, but they're just trying to cover a funeral. Well, it doesn't cost $100,000 to cover a funeral. Maybe they can only afford a $10,000 policy. Well, it's better to have the $10,000 policy than nothing, because your family's still going to have to figure out how to pay for the funeral if you pass away. And a lot of times people own houses and other things that they could sell, and then it would not be a huge burden on them in the first place. The third reason I believe people don't get life insurance is they don't think they can afford it. And there are some people that are generally sincere. They want to help their families out, but they don't know how they're going to come up with the money. So working with an advisor that has a lot of experience, they can always figure out a way that you can actually afford it. It's not as challenging as you might think it is. It's just a different way of thinking about it. For example, an advisor might be able to help you lower your home and auto insurance costs, which could free up money to protect that mortgage or to get that final expense policy or life insurance that you need. They may be able to help you get a discount on your health insurance, maybe save you $50, $100 a month on your health insurance. They may be able to lower other expenses and policies you already currently have. Let's say you have life insurance and you're just overpaying. In my experience, about 80% of people are actually overpaying for the coverage you already have. These are all different ways we can look at it. We can even look at your budget, maybe free up money in different ways when it comes to investing. But there's always a way. If you really want something, you will find out how to make that happen. That's how people are everywhere. It doesn't matter your income. You could have, a $500 a month income. If you really want something, you figure out how to get it. It's the same way that we are in any category of our life. Why not be that way for our family, who is important to us? The next group of people that are in this category of they don't think they can afford it are people that are basically saying, "I just don't want to be sold." So if you are that person, I would be cautious, because you want to ask yourself, what would life look like next week for your family members if you were no longer here, if they didn't have your income, if they had to pay for your final expenses, if they had a home mortgage that they couldn't afford anymore because they lost your income. Those are things you need to ask yourself. And a lot of times I think these people are kind of just on the fence because they're afraid of being sold, and for any of the reasons that we've listed here. But your family is important, and we'll do another video soon about reasons why you should get life insurance or some type of coverage to negate any potential costs. But think about your family. The last type of person in this category are people that I personally believe they probably just don't care about their family members. I know it's hard to say, but these are the people that sometimes they tell you up front, I don't really care what happens to them if I pass away. I just feel like it's my moral duty to get this coverage. Or these are people that sometimes they don't tell you that they don't care about their family members, but they show it by their deeds. Let me explain. So if you knew that it was a great burden on your family members if you pass away and that concerned you, why wouldn't you try to help figure out a way to make that not a burden on them? If you really cared, just think about that. I know it's a tough question, but if you really cared, there's got to be something you can do. It could be putting money in a jar each month, whether it's $5, $20, something to help. It could be trying to get a policy. It could be a savings account, other type of investment, selling a vehicle, or whatever. You would figure it out if it was really a big deal to you. Many times we see people that won't get, a $20 a month final expense policy because they look at what it might cost them instead of considering what it's going to cost their family members if they don't have something in place. So these are people that I just often wonder, I'm not sure if they really care about their family members or not. They may, but it just doesn't come across that way whenever you call for a solution. The solution is very affordable. And then you still don't move forward because you think about, oh, that $20 can buy me fast food 3 times or whatever you spend it on normally. We think about ourselves over our own family members. And I would just caution you, if you're in that boat, you may have not been doing that consciously and thinking about the way it comes across, but it's really hard on family members when somebody passes away and their expenses are not covered or they can't move on. I've had personally 3 clients pass away in the last year, and one of them was completely left without everything. They had to sell their house, and now they're trying to figure out a career that they can go into just to go on. Their spouse only had $50,000 in coverage. It was something, and they're happy that they had something. But when you take a person that makes $60,000 a year, the only income source of the family, and they pass away, that $50,000 is not going to go a whole long way. It's just going to buy a little bit of time, and that's why they had to sell the house to figure things out. So consider that. There's many other ways that you can go about life insurance or negating risk, through investment options and things like that. But these are all reasons why I think people don't get coverage. The 4th reason why I think people don't get life insurance sometimes is they think their friend got a better deal. So this is kind of that category, it kind of coincides with reason number 1, where, I'm not sure I trust the agent. They're like, oh, my friend got this deal. And let's say your friend's your same age, you're both 55 years old, and your friend got a $100,000 20-year term policy, and they're paying, let's say, $30 a month, and then you were just quoted at $60 a month. Well, my friend got a better deal than me, so I don't think I'm going to get coverage now. Or I'm going to try to go with the company that they went with. Or let's say that maybe you applied for coverage, and then you got approved more than what you thought it was going to cost. These are not good reasons to not protect your family. There's things you can do. You can change the term length. You can consider less coverage. You could maybe consider the type of product difference. But you have to realize that there's 16 different rating categories with most insurance companies you can end up. You've got preferred best rates, which very few people get. Preferred. Then you have your standard rates. And then you have table rating, which goes from like table 1 to 10, depending on the carrier. And these are risk categories the carriers use to determine what the cost should be on the insurance. And it's going to vary based on your risk. Your height and weight can vary. Any health condition you've ever had or currently had, any surgeries you've ever had, family history can play a factor. Your driving record, lifestyle issues can play can play a role in what your insurance will cost. And this is why, again, you should work with somebody who's experienced with underwriting, who's written many thousands of policies, because it gives you a really good idea of what to expect up front. And we are always pretty good about that, quoting people at we tell them, this is probably where you're going to end up based off underwriting. We reach out to underwriters. This is what it looks like. This is a possibility rate, but you aren't going to probably qualify for that or anything better. I'd rather call you up and say that you get congratulations, you got approved better than applied, than to call you up and say, you know what, some other things came up and it's going to cost you more than what you thought. Now, this is another reason why you should always be honest and straightforward with your agent. The life insurance companies know what they're doing. They're going to look at the MIB record most of the time, a medical information bureau database, to see if anything looks weird or odd. A lot of times they'll look at your prescriptions. Sometimes they'll order medical records or even do a medical exam depending on the carrier. There's some carriers that don't. They do more simplified issue products. But they're going to figure it out, and you want to be honest with them, because the only reason that they wouldn't pay out your claim is if you were not honest on your application during your first 2 years of coverage. So consider that whenever you're looking at it. All right, as promised, the fifth reason I think people don't get life insurance is that they don't think they're going to die. I know it's kind of funny to think about, but that I really do believe that is a big reason why people don't get life insurance. They don't think they're going to die. They think they're going to live forever, or they're just not going to die right now. They have another 20 or 30 years. And truly, my favorite book says, it's appointed unto man once to die, but after this the judgment. So in essence, everybody's appointed, has an appointed time. We don't know when that time is. We don't know if we're going to have an accident on the way to work, if there's going to be some type of major health condition that comes up, like a heart attack, cancer, stroke, that we weren't counting on. We never, people aren't looking to have these things happen. They don't necessarily want bad things to happen, obviously. I mean, nobody wants anything bad to happen to them, but these are things that can happen. And you also have to consider, the longer you wait to get some type of product in place, if that's the route you want to go and not the investment route, that could inhibit your ability to even get coverage. You've had a heart attack, it's hard to get coverage. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. If you've had cancer, it can be hard to get coverage. Or if you do get coverage, your rates are going to be way higher because something happened, and then to the life insurance company, and whatever carrier it is, it's a higher risk for them to insure you. So you really got to consider these things when you're looking at coverage, but don't delay getting something, because your family, if something happened to you tomorrow, what position would your family be in? And that's what you really got to think about whenever you're getting coverage, is that you're trying to negate this risk. You don't know when you're going to pass away. Obviously, none of us want to have to use these products, but it is something that could be a reality. And if you're one of those people that think, I just don't want to pay towards something I get no benefit out of, there's solutions for you too. You can do a return on premium product where you get all your money back if you outlive it, which is fine. Those cost more, but you can do that. You can do some type of permanent insurance or investment blended insurance where you accumulate cash value over time, so that way you can use the account for maybe nursing home expenses, or you can use it to take loans from, or to buy other things with. I mean, it becomes an asset. We can also design what's called a life insurance retirement plan. There's a lot of things you can do if you don't want to put money into something and not get anything out of it. But consider this, that you already probably have homeowners insurance and auto insurance and maybe health insurance. And these are things that you may never get any benefit out of unless you use them. So it's the same thing with life insurance. Term life insurance is a good way to go. It lowers costs and it negates that risk in the time frame that you really need to negate the risk if you're doing investing in other things. So my name is Jonathan Lombardi. I'm the founder and owner of Virtuous Insurance Planning. I'll be glad to help you with any questions or concerns that you might have. We've got a great team here. Just give us a call at 833-847-7526, which is 833-VIP-PLAN. Or just visit us at VIPinsuranceplans.com, and we'll be glad to help you out with your needs. Thanks.